Darth Vader trained over a dozen Force-sensitive apprentices across canon and legends. From the original Inquisitors to hidden clones, this video reveals every known apprentice and their dark impact on Vader's rise, rebellion, and reign. Let's dive in. The most famous of Vader's apprentices began as a tragedy on Kashyyyk. When Vader killed Jedi Kento Marek during a purge operation, he discovered the man's son, a boy with raw force power that ripped Vader's lightsaber from his grasp without any training. Recognizing this potential, Vader killed the surrounding stormtroopers and took young Galen as his secret weapon. Hidden aboard the Executor, Galen was renamed Starkiller and subjected to brutal training. Vader pushed him through deadly trials, forcing him to fight Noghri assassins and build lightsabers using only the Force. The training was designed to forge a weapon capable of helping Vader overthrow Emperor Palpatine. After years of preparation, Starkiller was unleashed against surviving Jedi. He defeated Masters Ram Kota, Kazdan Paratus, and Shakti in brutal confrontations. But when Palpatine discovered the secret apprentice, Vader was forced to betray Starkiller, stabbing him through the chest and hurling him into space. This betrayal would prove to be Vader's greatest mistake, as Starkiller's survival would eventually spark the Rebel Alliance. 6 months after Galen's death, Vader couldn't let go of his perfect weapon. On the cloning facilities of Kamino, he began a secret experiment to recreate Starkiller using genetic material from his fallen apprentice. The process proved nightmarishly unstable. Most clones went insane, overwhelmed by memories and emotions they couldn't understand. After 1,337 failed attempts, one clone finally survived the process. Designated Subject 1138, this clone retained Starkiller's abilities, but struggled with an identity crisis. Were the memories of Juno Eclipse, of betrayal and redemption, truly his own, or just genetic echoes? In the classic video game series Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, the sequel opens with Subject 1138 escaping from Kamino after being deemed a failure by Darth Vader, before his training is complete. Driven by flashes of Galen's past, he rescued General Kota and eventually tracked down Juno Eclipse, the one constant in his inherited memories. When Imperial forces captured her, the clone launched a desperate assault on Kamino itself. In the climactic battle, Subject 1138 faced both Vader and a perfected dark clone. His choice, revenge or redemption, would determine whether he was truly Galen Marek reborn. While Subject 1138 battled inherited emotions, Vader succeeded with another clone, one devoid of sentiment and fully devoted to the dark side. Known as the Dark Apprentice, he embodied Vader's ideal successor, pure power without compassion. Unlike unstable predecessors, he had purged Galen's memories and attachments. He felt nothing for Juno Eclipse, held no doubts, and served without question. This made him lethal. He retained Starkiller's skills, but lacked moral restraint. His duel with Subject 1138 on Kamino symbolized two fates, redemption or oblivion. In some timelines, he killed his flawed original and became Vader's perfect weapon. In others, the strength of sacrifice proved stronger than darkness. Before Starkiller, Vader experimented with training Force-sensitive Imperial officers. Admiral Vost Tyne commanded a Star Destroyer in Vader's battle group and caught the Dark Lord's attention through their close working relationship. What started as professional respect evolved into something unprecedented. Vader began training an Imperial officer in the dark side. With Emperor Palpatine's permission, Tyne learned to harness his latent Force abilities. Under Vader's tutelage, he mastered Force Choke, telekinesis, and lightsaber combat. To test his skills, Tyne killed a novice Jedi and claimed the fallen warrior's lightsaber as a trophy. Tyne eventually retired from the Navy to run a hyperbaride synthesis plant on the swamp world Marka. There, he used his dark side training to eliminate suspected traitors, including the plant's former director and security chief. His methods were cruel and efficient, exactly what Vader had taught him. When rebel agents infiltrated his facility, Tyne's force abilities made him a formidable opponent. His story demonstrated that Vader's influence could corrupt even decorated Imperial officers, turning loyal servants into dark side enforcers. Shira Bree began as an Imperial intelligence agent who infiltrated the Rebel Alliance, even earning Luke Skywalker's romantic interest. When her cover was blown during a space battle, Luke unknowingly shot down her fighter, leaving her critically injured and consumed with hatred for the young Jedi. Vader found the broken agent and saw opportunity in her rage. He arranged for her reconstruction with advanced cybernetics, transforming her into a cyborg warrior. Half of her face was replaced with mechanical components, and her body was enhanced with Imperial technology. More importantly, Vader began training her in the dark side of the Force. Lumiya became one of Vader's most successful apprentices, eventually earning the title of Emperor's Hand. She wielded a unique light whip, a flexible plasma weapon that required careful handling, but offered devastating reach in combat. Her cybernetic enhancements made her nearly as much machine as human, a living symbol of Imperial technological supremacy. After Vader's death, Lumiya continued his legacy, eventually becoming a Sith Lady in her own right. She would later train Jacen Solo, proving that Vader's influence extended far beyond his own lifetime. In a twisted mirror of Luke Skywalker's story, Flint was a farm boy whose family was killed during an Imperial raid. Traumatized and full of rage, he joined the Stormtroopers, desperate for purpose in a shattered world. His latent Force sensitivity and emotional volatility caught Vader's eye. Unlike the cold, precise Lumiya, Flint burned with raw intensity. His training shaped to weaponize grief into power. Flint wasn't just a soldier, he was a believer. He saw Vader not only as a master, but as a symbol of order in chaos. As a Sith enforcer, he hunted rebels with zeal, convinced he was avenging his past, never questioning, never doubting. Flint was a tragedy molded into a monster by pain, loss, and blind loyalty. Once a Jedi Padawan trained by Master Dav Lanu, Antinnis Tremayne's fall began during the Clone Wars when his master was killed and he was captured by enemy forces. Unlike other Jedi who fell to Order 66, Tremayne was taken to Biss with other captive Force sensitives, where Vader personally recruited him for a new Imperial division, the Inquisitorius. Tremayne quickly embraced the dark side, becoming one of the founding members of Vader's Inquisitor program. Known as the Second Brother, he was dedicated to hunting down fugitive Jedi who threatened the Empire. His obsessive nature made him particularly effective. He spent months tracking targets like the Jedi Padawan Drake Logan, whom he knew only as Jad Santa. Tremayne's pursuit of Jedi Master Corwin Shelvey cost him dearly, resulting in the loss of his eye and arm. These injuries were replaced with cybernetic implants, making him a fusion of man and machine. Despite his disfigurement, he successfully killed Jedi Master Darren Arcanian, proving his worth to Vader. Meet Halmere, one of the original 4 Inquisitors, personally selected by Darth Vader from a prison full of Force-sensitive survivors on Biss. While his fellow founding Inquisitor Antinnis Tremayne got the spotlight, Halmere was the Empire's go-to psychological weapon. This wasn't just another lightsaber-swinging brute. He was the interrogator who made former Senator Kana Omanda break down sobbing and confess to treason within minutes of their interview. Trained directly by Vader himself, Halmere embodied the Empire's philosophy of turning the galaxy's own Force users into instruments of terror. When the Empire crumbled, he didn't fade away, he evolved, rising to become Zenithal Inquestor of Judgment in the Pentastar alignment. Some nightmares don't die, they just find new masters. Born on Dathomir, Lanu Pasiq was a Force-sensitive who joined the Agricultural Corps after failing to become a Padawan. Like many Agricorps members, he was captured and sent to Biss, where Vader discovered her dark side potential. Chosen alongside Antinnis, Tremayne, and others, she became a founding member of the Inquisitorius. Trained by Vader to hunt Jedi, she excelled quickly, wielding both a lightsaber and blaster with lethal efficiency. Her most notable mission was the hunt for Jedi Padawan Jade Santa, alongside Tremayne and Imperial intelligence. After the Empire's fall, she aligned with Warlord Zinj, proving Vader's training produced survivors able to thrive in a fractured galaxy. Gwellib Ap-Llewff was a humanoid male with snout-like features, who, like many Inquisitors, started in the Agricultural Corps after failing to become a Jedi Padawan. His alien appearance made him stand out among Vader's early recruits, showing the Dark Lord's reach extended beyond humans. Chosen during Vader's Biss recruitment, Ap-Llewff joined the founding Inquisitors with Tremayne, Pasiq, and Halmere. Trained in lightsaber combat and dark side techniques, he was often outmatched by Tremayne. On the failed Jade Santa mission, Ap-Llewff and others were captured, a humiliation Tremayne kept from Vader. Later, he became a dark side adept on Biss, guarding Palpatine's citadel and embodying Vader's power to corrupt and repurpose failure. During the Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker encountered Kharys, a Force-sensitive skytree with natural wings and warrior instincts. Impressed by her potential, he promised to train her after the war ended. Unlike his other promises, this was one Anakin kept, even after his transformation into Darth Vader. Kharys represented a unique case among Vader's apprentices. She had known him before his fall, creating a complex dynamic between master and student. Her winged physiology gave her natural advantages in aerial combat, while her warrior culture made her naturally aggressive and competitive. Under Vader's tutelage, Kharys learned to combine her natural flying abilities with force powers, making her a devastating opponent in three-dimensional combat. Her training focused on aerial lightsaber techniques, and using her wings as both weapons and shields. Kharys served as one of Vader's more independent apprentices, often operating in the Outer Rim territories where her alien appearance wouldn't draw unwanted attention. Her loyalty to Vader stemmed from their pre-Empire connection, making her one of the few apprentices who served out of something resembling friendship. Hethrir was a Force-sensitive Ferrario who, along with his mate Rillao, was delivered to Vader for training by Inquisitor Antinnis Tremayne. Unlike Rillao, who resisted the dark side's call, Hethrir proved susceptible to corruption and embraced Vader's teachings with enthusiasm. Under Vader's guidance, Hethrir learned to channel his natural Force abilities through dark side techniques. His training emphasized manipulation and control, skills that would serve him well in his later role as an Imperial administrator. Vader recognized Hethrir's political acumen and groomed him for leadership within the Empire's hierarchy. After completing his training, Hethrir was appointed as the Procurator of Justice, a position that allowed him to combine his Force abilities with administrative power. He used this role to advance Imperial interests, while secretly building his own power base. Following the Empire's fall, Hethrir refused to accept defeat. He founded the Empire Reborn, a splinter faction dedicated to restoring Imperial rule. His vision of a new empire, guided by Force-sensitive leadership, represented an evolution of Vader's own ambitions. However, his movement was ultimately crushed by the new Jedi Order. Rillao, a Force-sensitive Ferrario and mate to Hethrir, represented one of Vader's few training failures. Delivered to the Dark Lord by Antinnis Tremayne alongside Hethrir, she was intended to become another weapon in Vader's arsenal. However, Rillao possessed an inner strength that resisted the dark side's corruption. Despite Vader's attempts to break her will and turn her to darkness, Rillao maintained her moral center. Her training sessions became battles of will, rather than lessons in the dark side. Where other apprentices embraced hatred and anger, Rillao held onto compassion and hope. Recognizing that she would never truly serve the dark side, Rillao made the dangerous decision to flee from Vader's service. Her escape was a rare defeat for the Dark Lord, proving that not every Force-sensitive could be corrupted through pain and manipulation. Rillao's resistance to Vader's training methods highlighted the importance of choice in determining one's path. While her mate Hethrir fell to darkness, she remained true to the light, eventually becoming a symbol of hope for those who refused to surrender to Imperial tyranny. Ennix Devian was one of Emperor Palpatine's personal assassins before catching Vader's eye. Trained by Vader, he lost an eye during instruction, a failure that fueled his drive. Combining Imperial training with Force sensitivity, Devian became a weapon of precision and destruction. After Palpatine's death, he rejected peace and formed the Restored Empire, claiming to be the Emperor's true heir. His dark side skills emphasized control over raw power. Trained to be patient and ruthless, he clashed with Canon, another remnant of the Empire. Devian's defeat marked the end of one more attempt to rebuild Vader's legacy. In one of the more tragic stories among Vader's apprentices, Tau was a young Jedi survivor from the planet Shumari who witnessed his master's death during an Imperial assault. Vader sensed the boy's anger and potential, sparing him from the orbital bombardment that destroyed his homeworld, and taking him as a secret apprentice. Unlike Vader's other students, Tau never fully embraced the dark side despite years of brutal training. His compassionate nature resisted Vader's attempts to forge him into a weapon of hatred. This failure frustrated Vader, who eventually abandoned the boy when he learned of Luke Skywalker's existence. Emperor Palpatine discovered Tau's existence and forced Vader to strike him down as proof of loyalty. However, Vader couldn't bring himself to deliver a killing blow, instead mortally wounding the young man and returning him to the ruins of Shumari to die. In his final moments, Tau saved Vader from a vengeful Tusken Raider, proving that compassion could triumph over hatred. His death represented one of Vader's few moments of genuine remorse, and the Dark Lord built a simple monument to honor the boy who refused to fall to darkness. Vader's training of Jarek exploited his archaeological background, transforming scholarly curiosity into ruthless efficiency. Vader recognized Jarek's Miraluka foresight as superior to traditional vision, drilling him in combat techniques that maximize this advantage. The training regimen focused on weaponizing Jarek's academic knowledge. Vader taught him to channel ancient Sith techniques through modern applications. Vader's most brutal lesson involved forcing Jarek to develop Force destruction by surviving increasingly lethal training scenarios, where conventional Force powers failed. The psychological conditioning centered on redirecting Jarek's scholarly obsession toward practical power acquisition. Vader deliberately withheld information about the Valley of the Jedi, using Jarek's curiosity as motivation while ensuring his apprentice remained dependent on Imperial resources. This calculated manipulation kept Jarek loyal while fostering the ambition that would ultimately consume him. Vader's training of Karnor Jax was indirect but methodical, working through Lumiya to avoid Imperial detection. The curriculum emphasized political manipulation over raw Force power. Vader taught Jax to view the Empire as a system to be exploited rather than served. Combat training focused on integrating Force abilities with Royal Guard techniques, creating a hybrid fighting style that appeared conventional while hiding Force enhancement. Vader's most crucial lesson involved teaching Jax to compartmentalize loyalty, serving the Empire's ideals while betraying its leadership. The psychological conditioning centered on controlled ambition, with Vader demonstrating low patience and planning could overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Vader deliberately encouraged Jax's conspiracy against Palpatine, seeing it as a test of his teachings. However, Vader's training emphasized Force reliance over martial fundamentals, a fatal flaw that Canos would eventually exploit. Vader's influence on Mara Jade's training was deliberately minimal to avoid Palpatine's suspicion, but strategically significant. When opportunities arose, Vader supplemented her Imperial conditioning with practical combat wisdom, teaching her to trust instincts over orders when survival was at stake. His training philosophy emphasized adaptability, showing Jade how to modify techniques mid-combat and exploit opponents' expectations. Vader's most important lesson involved teaching her to compartmentalize emotional attachments, ironically preparing her for eventual redemption. The psychological aspect focused on maintaining identity despite deep conditioning. Vader subtly encouraged her independent thinking while appearing to reinforce Imperial loyalty. Vader recognized that Jade's greatest strength lay in her ability to evolve, so his training emphasized foundational principles rather than rigid techniques. This approach ultimately enabled her transition from Imperial assassin to Jedi Master, fulfilling Vader's unspoken hope for redemption through his students. So, which of Vader's apprentices do you think was the most dangerous? Subject 1138 or the Dark Apprentice? If you want to see more deep dives into Star Wars lore that most fans miss, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with the apprentice you think is the most overpowered. And if you made it this far, you're a true Star Wars fan who gets how deep this universe really goes. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.